welcome to Ghouls Night In, your cozy chat show about all things spooky with your best ghoul friends. I'm Penny Snark.
And I'm Midge Munster.
And today, Midge, I want to talk to you about the Ouija board.
I really surely would love if you did.
I got into such a deep hole reading about this one. So Ouija boards are like one of my favorite, just kind of like spooky aesthetics. I just find them really cool. And I have like planchette earrings, and I have a Ouija board tray and like a cheese board that says like snacks and spirits on it.
Yes, I know the one.
So I was ready to go back and learn a little bit about it. And these guys actually, so, the concept of automatic writing that a Ouija board is based on goes super, super far back. But talking boards, as they were known, were really gaining a lot of popularity in the 1880s in the US as part of the spiritualist movement. So a lot of people were using them to try to, communicate with, their dead loved ones. It was the Civil War, so a lot of people were losing people. So there was just this big renewed interest in kind of the mystical and the beyond. And I read The Strange and Mysterious History of the Ouija Board, written by Linda Rodriguez McRobbie for Smithsonian Magazine, which was really interesting because she was talking in there that there, up until recently, there really hasn't been a lot of specific history about the Ouija board, even though it's a huge part of our American culture and just like such a touchstone. The first Ouija board that was inspired by the talking boards was produced in 1891 by Kennard Novelty Company.
Early. Wow.
Yeah. So there was apparently like a story that went out in the Associated Press in like 1886 that was like, people in the spiritualist camps are all about these talking boards. And they were like, hell yeah, we could make those. And
So they were like mass producing and selling talking boards at that point?
Yeah, so they started and they were like, we're going to make, like, the talking boards looked like that, with an alphabet and numbers and things like that on them. And they were like, hey, we could make these. And they were the ones who brought up the term Ouija, or Ouija, which I have heard both ways. I don't really know what the preferred pronunciation is. But
Have you ever seen that video where they're going through the like Yahoo answers of all
yes.
the how to use a Luigi board?
Luigi board. Funny story. My sister and her husband went as Luigi board and Waluigi board for a Halloween
Oh
party one year.
my god. That is simply the best thing I have ever heard in my days.
It was extremely good.
Waluigi board. Wow.
Wow.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
Yes. So obviously the word itself is mysterious, and were a lot of people who believe that it comes from combining we and ja, so yes in French and German, even though I don't really know why that would make sense, because like theoretically it should be a yes and a no word if that was the case.
Right.
But the
Yeah,
story that
not a yes board.
yeah, the yes board. But the founders actually say that the name came from the board itself, that they were using the board and asked what it should be called, and that's what it spelled out, and that when they asked, the board said that it meant good luck. So I think that's probably why you have good luck on the bottom of most Ouija boards you see today.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so in this story that I was reading, they were saying that the original Ouija board had printed on the box that it was proven at the patent office. And I was like, that's weird. But according to the owners, when they went to get a patent application, the patent officer said that they had to prove that it worked, and that it correctly guessed his name, they could have the patent. And
Oh.
it did.
Oh, I don't like that one bit.
I feel like that seems pretty dubious. Like I feel like this was probably like a thing where like 50% of people in the old days were named John and they were just like,
He's like wearing a
is it
name
John?
tag.
Right? Or it's like, I mean, these like it was a patent lawyer and one of these other guys, so I'm like, what are the odds that they were like, "Oh yeah, that's Kevin. Like we're going to be meeting with Kevin
We're gonna
today."
be meeting with Kevin today. Oh man, I would love it. I mean, it would be really cool if it had correctly guessed, but I would love it even more if like this guy was so mystified. He was like, "Whoa." And
What?
moments before someone was like, "Yeah, if you have any questions, you can ask Kevin."
Right. Uh, but and one of the things that I saw in my research that I really loved is so one of the founders of this company, Elijah Bond, his gravestone is a Ouija board.
Oh,
So,
that both seems amazing and like a recipe for disaster.
right? I mean, I don't know how you would use it because it is upright like a
Sure.
tombstone is, but it does look extremely cool and I'm very into the aesthetic.
So let me ask you this. What
Yes.
do you believe? Do you believe in Ouija board? Like, do you think that it can be used for what it claims to be used for?
So I guess that I think we are maybe a Ryan and Shane pairing from BuzzFeed Unsolved if you ever watch that.
Yeah,
I am
yeah, yeah.
definitely a skeptic.
Yeah, that
So
tracks for me.
so I think that they're fun, but I have a science corner later about,
Mm.
or it can be a science corner now about the idiomotor response, um
Mm.
which is what what how science explains things like this, which is just the concept that your muscles have just such incredibly minute reflexes that are unknowingly caused by the things that you're thinking. So, like, if you're thinking really hard about that yes answer, your hand might twitch towards that without you realizing it.
Sure. I do think there's probably a fair amount of that involved for sure. I am definitely what is it? I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious. uh I definitely I don't know that I believe that it would like summon a spirit, but I also have a healthy enough like respect for it that I'm not going to fuck around and find out, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. I will say so. Um, Obviously, anyone who has a Ouija board today knows that they got huge after this. And Parker Brothers actually bought the patent in 1967. And that year they sold 2 million Ouija boards.
Yeah.
And they are mass produced now. And I don't know. So when I was growing up, I did have the Hasbro glow in the dark Ouija
Yes.
board. And
Yes.
one of my like initial like spooky girl weird girl memories is that I brought it along to a sleepover party and the other
Yes.
girls were super freaked out by it and were like
You would
we
have been the
can't.
girl that I was like, I'm not going to talk to her.
Right, they were like, oh my god, like my mom told me the devil will come out of this, we cannot play with this. And I was like, you guys, we bought this at Toys R Us, like what are you, like how could the devil be in this board that's from Toys R Us?
Tell me you grew up in the Bible Belt without telling me you grew up in the Bible Belt.
So that is actually super interesting though, because one of the other things that when reading this article, they were talking about how Ouija boards were really just like they had like spooky vibes, but it was just kind of considered to be a normal, fun, kind of like family friendly thing. Like
Yeah.
you would just have it, you would play with it like with any other kind of like board game. And even Norman Rockwell illustrated like a flirty couple like playing with one, and because there was a little bit of a romantic vibe there, because like you're sitting there, you got your hot little hands on that planchette, maybe fingers brushing with someone that you liked in a time when you normally wouldn't be able to do that. So there was kind of this like romantic element to the Ouija board, which I thought was really fun.
It's like the Victorian version of spin the bottle.
Right. Yeah, and it was like, "Ooh, does, Jeff like me? Tell me yes or no, Ouija board." So there was all that kind of thing, and it was really The Exorcist in the 70s that they referenced Regan playing with a Ouija board, and that was really the time that it became widely believed that there was some kind of demonic, like satanic connection with Ouija
Mm,
boards.
the Satanic Panic.
Mhm.
Well, and that's fair because I mean, if you look at the history with Exorcist and what happened to so many folks that were involved in the production of that film, I get why people were a little like, yikes, you know?
Yeah, there was spooky stuff going on there.
So you definitely played then with your Toys R Us Ouija board as a child.
I did. So my primary memory of playing with the Ouija board is I had a sleepover and had people at my house, and they were willing to play Ouija board with me, and we tried to summon the spirit of my dead dog.
Oh no.
Yeah, my so our beloved family cocker spaniel Chips had recently passed, and I was like, we should talk to Chips and make sure he's happy.
Oh, that's both hilarious and so sad.
I know, right? And I'm like, yeah, in retrospect, I'm like, great birthday party plan,
Yeah.
kid.
Hey guys, you want to come celebrate me and also try to speak to the spirit of my dead dog?
Right? And
Happy
I mean,
birthday.
in retrospect, I'm like, Chips didn't speak English. Like, what did you think was gonna happen here?
Your hands
Like,
just go to like bork,
bork,
bork.
bork, bork, bork. And I'm like, he doesn't know. He wouldn't be able to like a text form of communication is not a great way to talk to a dog.
Sure. So would you say that at that point you were not skeptical and that you were thinking like this is an active form of communication. I'm going to be able to talk to my dog today?
Yeah, I think I hoped that it was true. Like I kind of like wanted to believe in things, and I mean, I feel like the same way about like a lot of spooky things where like I don't necessarily like capital B believe in it, but like it's fun and thrilling to like do something that's kind of like woo spooky. So like I enjoy
Sure.
like letting, getting kind of swept up into that energy even if at the end of the day I'm like, I don't know if I really think that this is a thing.
I don't know when I don't remember my first like interaction or like where I first learned about Ouija boards. I'm sure it was probably from like, the Hasbro because it was
Mhm.
really popular when we were young. Like, but I don't remember ever playing with one. Like I don't remember any of my friends having them, and I certainly didn't have one at all because my family was not that family.
See, it's really funny to me because like I was raised Catholic, like my family is Catholic,
Right.
but like I've definitely learned as I've grown up that we weren't that Catholic. So my parents were like, yeah, sure, Ouija board, that's whatever, like that's just kind of a random thing for you to play with.
Yeah, I wish I kind of like I wish almost that I had played with them as a kid because I think I was actually legitimately like afraid of them for a long
Hmm.
time. Um but now I mean same as you, like I have tons of, I have a Ouija board like pinafore dress, I've got earrings, I've got like pillows for my house. Like I also there's something really beautiful about them, about the typography and the just I don't know, the layout is like satisfying. They're really
Yeah.
beautiful to look at.
It is. It's really cool. I love like, today there are so many like artisans and stuff who make like really
Mhm.
beautiful like custom like spirit boards and Ouija boards that are just like really really neat and like they're pieces of art in themselves.
Do you have a Ouija board, like a proper one, in your home now?
I don't. I really want to buy like an indie one, so I am planning to actually this year like keep an eye on some of like, the dark markets. The closest thing
Hmm.
I have is I do have from a couple of years ago. So they've done one like every year. Like Target does the big like Ouija board serving tray.
Yes.
And I
Hmm.
have the one from a few years ago that like I think the more recent ones look like they have like kind of like cuter illustrations, and this one's pretty
Yeah,
legit
they've been
spooky. It's
kind of
got like
cartoony.
yeah. Yeah, this one has like branches and snakes and stuff around the outside, and
Ooh.
it's definitely big enough that I could use it as a real board.
It's funny now, my mother, so like I said, we were pretty, I would say I was really raised. I would say I was raised pretty conservatively.
Mhm.
Um, Not like, I don't know, just like there was definitely a healthy respect for Jesus.
Yeah.
We were church going folks. And uh so like I said, we never had one. Um, but like in the last maybe I want to say like the last 5 years, my mom bought one, an old one, like a
Ooh.
pre-used Ouija board,
Mm.
at like an estate sale, and she puts it out at Halloween now, and that I don't trust. The fact that it has been somewhere before here, I'm like, I don't know about all that.
Yeah, I would say if any Ouija board were to be haunted, it would be that one.
Yeah.
Like one that
So
you got from a dead person's
yeah,
house.
she really went from 0 to 100. She said, "No, Hasbro, but I will buy this haunted one that I found from a dead person." That sounds like a good plan to me.
There you go. I have a fun fact about the world's largest Ouija board.
Oh, I saw this recently, but please say more
Yes.
words.
Yeah, if you don't recall, so this was in 2019, so very recent, and I remember this being all over all of my spooky like groups
Yes.
and social media at the time. So it was built in Salem, Massachusetts, of course, just in
Obvi.
time for Halloween, and it was called Ouijazilla. Oh yes. And it was built out of 99 sheets of plywood and covered 3,168 square feet.
It had like, even looking at it in pictures, it had like a presence to it.
It did. And so like I'm really bad at spatial reasoning. And like the only thing that I can reliably picture the size of is a football field. So I
Right.
looked up how big a football field is, and that's 48,000 square feet. So like this Ouija board was bigger than my apartment, but still significantly smaller than a football field.
Yeah,
And that's my best my best opportunity of estimating the size of this in my brain.
that's still like huge. I mean,
Yeah.
just massive.
It
And
weighed 9,000 pounds, and they had a 400-pound planchette that you could operate it with.
people were people were like upset about it too. Like not
Yeah, that's
I
what I
don't think
remember. It was definitely a mix of like people who were like, oh, this is so fun, this is so cool, and people being like, you are gonna summon the largest Satan that there ever was.
well, and then it didn't help that we went into 2020 right after that. And then people were like, "This is all your fault, Salem."
This is true. One of my favorite things is I see like Ouija board rugs sometimes,
I
and
knew
there's
you were gonna I
always
was literally about to talk about this.
and there's
Yes.
always someone who comments who's just like, your Roomba's gonna open
Roomba's
a
about to
portal to
summon
hell.
Roomba about to summon a demon.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that any spirit that was summoned by a Roomba would probably be extremely helpful.
This is a good
Like
point.
like if your vacuum brings forth like a ghost, I feel like that spirit is going to be like, you know what, I'm just here to help. I'm just here to tidy up. I'll be going soon.
Right? It's like, I'll help you out. I can do something.
I would I could go for like a ghost housekeeper. That'd be pretty dope.
Ooh, yeah, I would appreciate that. That would be like that'd be better than just like a regular, like, Casper's a friendly ghost, but I want a
Yeah,
helpful ghost.
I want a useful ghost.
Yes. We'll
I would
skip
leave them.
friendly. We'll go to useful.
I would leave out some really nice like treats for them. You know, they
Yeah.
can have the guest room. They don't even have to like, I don't know where ghosts go when do they sleep? Do ghosts sleep? I don't know.
I don't know. I guess maybe it depends on the ghost.
They can have a whole room to themselves. I'll treat them very nicely if they just promise to, mop up the dog hair and all that.
So you never had a Ouija board growing up. Have you ever played with one?
I don't think that I have. I'm trying to remember, and I have this one. So I'm just getting to a place in my life where I'm not scared of everything,
Yeah.
which is funny because I've always been very into Halloween. I've always loved spooky, but I'm also like terrified of things.
Yeah.
And I've always my specifically like, scary movies and things. My friends, when I tell them like things I won't watch, my friend wanted me to watch Paranormal Activity, and my direct quote that I always say is, "I don't fucks with demons. I don't anything that has a possibility of a demon. I'm out. For those reasons, I'm out." And I think that was why I don't think I ever even wanted the possibility. I'm always terrified of something latching to me. This is a very
Yeah.
real fear that I have. And I know you're a skeptic, so you're probably like, but I'm so scared of latching. I don't know why. I don't know where that comes from. But I have this one very specific memory from my childhood of going to a slumber party at this girl Morgan's house. We weren't like, she might have been like in Girl Scouts with me or something. We weren't like good friends.
Hmm.
But I went to her house and I remember that like we did several spooky activities. So she was probably you, honestly, in this
Right.
scenario. She was like, everybody come over to my house and become horrified.
We're gonna do some weird shit.
And so if I ever played with one, that might have been where it happened. But I feel like I've kind of blocked that whole experience out because I know that at like 1 a.m. I called my parents and made them come get me.
Oh.
I was that girl. I remember we definitely like played Bloody Mary, and her
Oh yeah.
sister like purposefully, she had an older sister who like purposefully scared us.
Oh yeah.
Like I wasn't there for that.
I was gonna say older sisters are definitely. I am an older sister, so I can with high qualifications state that older sisters are always a complicating element in things like Ouija boards. I was telling some of my friends that I was researching for this episode, and my friend Kelsey was telling me that they had a Ouija board growing up too, and of course when she would do it with her little sister and her little sister's friends, she would be moving that planchette all over the place. And they were all
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And they even would be like, oh, it doesn't work when Kelsey's not here. Just like completely missing the fact, just being like, well, Kelsey has the strong spiritual connection, I guess. When she's here,
Obviously.
this
She's a
Ouija board
psychic
is just
medium.
chatty, chatty, chatty. And as soon as she goes, it doesn't tell us anything.
Kids are so stupid. I love that
They
about them.
really are. Just like so trusting and just like,
Yeah, gullible, naive.
and
So cute.
being aware enough that you like realize this requires an explanation, and then just
Yeah.
blowing right past the most logical
The
explanation to a
obvious cause and
completely dumb
effect.
explanation.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely like, and that's, I have this weird, I don't know where I stand. I have this weird mix of I'm like, yeah, obviously somebody's pushing the planchette, but then also I'm like, but what if they're not?
Yeah. But what if
What if?
the spirits? Yeah, it's all very cool, and I very much enjoy like the aesthetics of that kind of like Victorian medium sort of vibe. So I think that's one of the things that I enjoy about the board. And I mean, obviously, there's just a very cool like communal experience of being like we're all going to sit around and try to reach beyond ourselves, which I think is very very cash money.
You ever been to a seance? A seance?
I have. Actually in 2019 I went to a Harry Houdini seance. Um,
What is your life? I love this. Continue.
right. Yeah, it was a special event. So we have the Jewish Museum in Milwaukee, and
Hmm.
Harry Houdini was Jewish, and so they had a big exhibit about his life in autumn. And because Houdini famously, was a debunker of spiritualists and people, but also like wanted really badly for it to be real. So like he hated people who
Hmm.
were faking it because he wanted it to be true. And he had told his wife, do a seance for me. They established a code word, and he was like, if it is possible for a spirit to come back, I will come back and communicate with you. And so she held a seance on Halloween night every year for decades, trying to contact him.
That's wild. Don't you
Hmm.
think after like a couple years you'd be like, he's not coming?
Yeah, right. I'm like part of that's like very romantic, but then part of that I'm just like, girl, he's not coming.
Move on, Jennifer. It's time.
Right, but yeah, so in honor of that, so this was not, there is still like an official Houdini seance that happens on Halloween, but
Every
this was
year.
every year, but this was not the official one, just a local one with a local medium. But it was really interesting. She did not use a spirit board, but she did have like a bell and a spirit horn, which that could be a whole, maybe we'll do seances as another episode, because there are all sorts of really interesting little devices and things that people have used in seances over the years to try to
Yes.
give form to the spirits so they can communicate.
Ugh. Well, that is when I asked if you had been to one, I wasn't ready for Harry Houdini. That's fascinating.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. I maybe I'll do an episode about Harry Houdini, because I was extremely into Harry Houdini in middle school. I read like 5 biographies about him.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
he lived in Milwaukee for a period of time.
Oh, all
Yeah,
the
he lived
like
in
weird cool
Wisconsin.
people are from
Mhm.
Milwaukee
So I felt a kinship with him.
because you were known for escaping.
Yeah, I also like to be tucked into milk jars filled with water.
People just every day look around and they go, "Where did Penny go? Did she
Yep,
escape again?"
he's dangling over a river in a straitjacket somewhere.
I have a small story.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's not that groundbreaking, but it was funny. So I did I do the tubing, the YouTubing,
Indeed, the tubes.
the tubes. And this woman last year, it's like this comment has stuck out in my brain for like this whole year of my life. I think about it way too often. And I did like a Halloween haul, and I must have shown something Ouija board themed. I don't
Hmm.
remember what it was, but I mean, I have several items, so it's yeah. I mean, that definitely could have happened. Um, this woman leaves me a comment in like I think what struck me about it was how like earnest she was. Like she was really trying to like save me, and not in like a Jesus-y way, like in a
Hmm.
she all caps and like no sentence structure was like you must be careful bringing Ouija into your house will keep like you will die, like just very this huge like all caps like 5 line paragraph warning to
Yeah.
me about bringing even like Ouija themed objects. She said something about they are pure evil.
Pure
And
evil.
I I just branching off of what you're saying there about how they were mainstream, and it's like they're the concept of them being like a tool for evil is so deeply rooted. I mean, like witches use spirit boards and use, these things as tools to communicate and like the I think it's like a lack of education,
Hmm.
Like it's all about how you use the item, I guess at the end of the day is what I'm saying. Like obviously, you know, anything can be evil if you use it wrong. Just it's very interesting how we can develop like a fear of an inanimate thing when it really we have the power. We're the babe with the power.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of it's just a fear of the unknown in general because like you
Oh,
said,
definitely.
like it why would it have to be a demon? Like there are, plenty of other kind of, forces or spirits that you could reach out to through a tool like that.
Right. Yeah. Oh, my brain just went squirrel.
So I will say when you Google Ouija board, so obviously Google is like, oh yeah, here's this and here's the Wikipedia page, but there are also Google reviews of the Ouija board, and the
Incredible.
top displaying review is a 1-star review that says this stuff is not a game. It may seem like nothing happens on the surface, but what is really happening is when you play with these boards, you are contacting demons, and all they want is to gain access into your life so they can cause havoc and ultimately drag your souls to hell when you die. So there you go. Thank you for
This
that
is the woman.
input. Yep,
That's the
she's
woman
she's
who
she's
left me
here.
the.
She's here and letting you know that you do not need to turn to the occult and call down a curse on your family by playing with a Ouija board.
Do you believe in the whole like if you take the glass out of the planchette thing that it takes away the power of the board?
Ooh, I've never heard that.
Oh, okay. So this is what I was always told, that you could play with the Ouija board or like display the Ouija board. But if you took the glass out of the planchette, that was the like portal to communicate, and so that if you took that out, you were safe.
Oh. Well, see, now I'm concerned because I do have a planchette pop socket on my phone, and it
I
does
do
have a
too.
little glass in it.
We're just
So,
walking around all day with an open portal in our pocket.
yeah, just contacting people. I mean, I've thought about getting I'm planning a Halloween tattoo that will include some form of like a planchette or Ouija board element. So, I'll just have demonic portal right there on my calf.
I've always kind of wanted to get like a tribute to Sharon Needles
Oh
with
yeah.
a planchette with her little "when in doubt, freak 'em out."
Yes, love it.
The OG. Well, she's not the OG spooky bitch. That's like I don't even know who that would be. Elvira, maybe Vampira.
Yeah. But definitely a great spooky bitch of our time.
Yes. Well, in the true fashion of playing with a Ouija board, we must say goodbye in order to close this podcast.
It's true. Make sure that you follow along with us on social media if you'd like to see more. Our handles are Ghouls Night In Pod if you'd like to follow the podcast, or you can find me at Penny Snark.
And me at Midge Munster.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for a Ghouls Night In today, and we hope that wherever you go, you keep your Ouija board clean and you always say goodbye. So, goodbye from us.
Goodbye.